Absolutely.
Right. Wake up.
Hey.
You can do it.
These old bones.
You can do it.
These old bones getting old.
Would you guys mind scooting together just a teeny bit?
There we go. Hey.
Thank you very much.
Act like your brothers.
Yeah.
So, what can you tell us about this new exciting series that...
We haven't said to 5,000 people before.
Yes. Well,
okay.
you can say the same thing, but with more emphasis this time.
It's sincere.
Yes. Put a little oomph in it.
Go ahead.
After you.
No, come on. I want to say that I'm incredibly grateful. Like my first day on set, it was surreal to think that I'm back here playing this character that is so meaningful to me, standing opposite this man who's become meaningful to me as well. It's a gift. It's a gift.
Much the same. It was an honor coming back to the show. It's done so much for me personally. It's provided a roof and an education and all these great things for my children. It forged a beautiful relationship between Wentworth and myself. And just revisiting Lincoln's soul again, having to inhabit that was an experience.
How is it getting back into the mindset of these characters after being away for so long, and also sort of switching back and forth with like other long-running characters that you're also playing on other shows, like when you're going back and forth into this one?
For me, it was pretty easy. Michael Scofield is in me somewhere always now, courtesy of 81 episodes, 4 years from the original series. But also, we were kind of flirting with a Michael Lincoln dynamic to begin with on Legends and The Flash. They get to cut up and have fun in a way that Michael and Lincoln don't. They're busy suffering, typically. But we were already kind of in that wheelhouse. And the amazing thing to me is that Dominic and I hadn't seen each other for 5 years after the original series ended. But the moment we were back on set, it was just right into the groove.
A great deal of the conflict on the show is familial.
Sure.
And so you guys are constantly, as actors, sort of put in the situation of, would I go to these lengths?
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. Like, have you had a moment where you're like, I understand this character, but I couldn't do this thing that this character has to do?
For me personally, I would lay down my life for my children without hesitation. So yes, I can personally see the possibility of Lincoln doing what he does.
In the premiere episode, Lincoln doesn't really hesitate at all to believing the evidence as he's going along. Can you talk about why he is so confident that Michael's alive and that he's willing to even go to Sarah and bring this into her life?
It took some convincing for him to finally acknowledge that Michael was alive, but I think that the catalyst was when he dug the grave up and Michael wasn't there. I think that's when he decided, okay, this is for real, and he was going to do anything he could to free his brother and find his brother.
Do you think a little bit of that had to do with the fact that he's lived a fairly sizable portion of his life without hope?
Yes, that's a good point, a very good point. Absolutely. Lincoln has lived a lot of his life without hope, and I think that could be based on the history that Wentworth and myself have created for the brothers as younger men, having gone through some trauma as children.
With the 4 previous seasons, there's a lot of lore already built into the canon of this storyline.
Yeah.
So what can your fans expect to see bringing something new or different to these characters that you spent so much time already developing?
Well, first, I think that works to our advantage because we don't have to waste time 2-3 episodes of backstory and catching you up. We can just hit the ground running. Like, you know Michael, you know Lincoln, and here's what's up. 9 new episodes, action-packed. The thing for me that is most different is the scale of this. Like, it was a U.S. story, U.S. prisons, first time around, except for, I guess, the season in Panama. But now we've gone global. Like, this thing has gone international. We've got international characters played by international actors. It's a diverse cast, which is really important to me. And I think that international nod is about our fans who are everywhere. They've been nothing but supportive across the globe from the beginning, and to acknowledge them, to say, we see you and we would like to play with you and where you are. I think these 9 episodes speak to that.
I agree, totally.
Did this larger scope feel more like a film, more like a film production?
Yeah. And that has something to do with Paul Shearing as well. I think he has a cinematic sensibility, so he's all over these 9 episodes.
Your Prison Break characters are sort of mirror universe versions of your Legends of Tomorrow and type characters as well. Sort of like getting to be the evil versions on there, and like you get the good side. Like, what's sort of the adjustments you make going from back into being sort of more like these sort of heroic characters?
Good question.
Going back into leaving Mick and going back into Lincoln?
Exactly.
I don't mean to sound arrogant, but it's my job as an actor to be able to do that, and I do it pretty effortlessly.
One of the push-pulls in the original series, out of which came something interesting and fruitful, was the powers that be wanting Michael to stay the White Knight, and me being more excited about him existing in the grayscale. He's a good man on a hero's journey, but he does some not so nice things. And it's satisfying to me in this reboot to see him kind of drift even farther over to the dark side. The question is how far?
What are you pulling from to create such believable chemistry between these two brother characters? Because it's very, very raw on the screen, and it feels real. So what are you pulling from to create that?
Well, it's real. I mean, Wentworth's one of my closest friends. I have tremendous respect for him as a man. I love him dearly. And that's something you can't manufacture. And so that real off-screen love for one another and friendship, deep friendship, just naturally happens on screen.
What effect has shooting in Morocco had for you as far as culturally understanding? Obviously, this takes place in Yemen, but a very different world from the one that your characters have been living in.
There's not a whole lot to complain about living in America.
It's true.
For sure.
The producers mentioned that there was a spark between you from your chemistry read from when we came back in Prison Break. What do you think it is about that relationship that just sort of made you guys work together on screen?
I'm not sure. There was a mutual respect that has always been true from the beginning, and somewhere in the course of playing his brother over 81 episodes, he just became my brother. I mean, we are as opposite can be. We have nothing in common.
Zero.
And yet it works. And Dominic is a model of a certain kind of manhood for me. He's someone who can rage when it's time to rage, and he can grieve when it's time to grieve, and to be vulnerable, to be in alignment with his emotions. Wherever he's at, he is honestly there. That's something you see off screen and on, and it's worth looking at and honoring and modeling myself after. I've taken my cue from this man.
Thank you. Likewise.
When we talked to the producers earlier, they said that there has to be something that would keep Michael away because Michael and Sarah's love was so strong. Can you tease a little bit? We don't want the answer, of course, but what would drive him to do, to leave?
I think that Michael trying to get back to them, that is about, Sarah, the woman that he loves, was married to. There's the son that he's never met, never even kind of touched. But what's interesting to me is that Michael is a lone wolf for sure, but he also he needs community. He needs people to care about. And when Lincoln discovers him in this Yemen prison, Michael has created a new family for himself. He's using them. but he also cares about them, and that's what puts him in a jam time after time, is that I need to manipulate you to get from A to point B, but I also want to make sure nothing happens to you. How do I make that happen?
How does he deal with the fact that there's actually been a fairly sizable body count for
sure.
for all of this?
For sure.
Because you're talking about how he did start out as sort of this white knight, and even from the beginning, he's had to sacrifice people.
Well, that's one of the things that worked for me about the original series ending. I was an advocate as far as Michael paying the ultimate price, because his hands were so filthy by that point. I thought, how can I justify him riding off with Sarah and their unborn child? I'm not sure that adds up for me. So I was okay with how things worked out. I know a lot of the fans were not. So this is kind of a way to give them what they wanted as well. It's another ending.
As an actor, how do you continue to push the envelope? We've seen so much happen for the first 4 seasons, and the ante just continues to be upped. And so there's all this expectation coming into it. How do you prepare yourself to really push the envelope and provide the type of performance that you know millions of people are out here expecting after so much time? No pressure. No pressure.
Spritz bottles help.
Yeah, a little sheen.
Little sheen. It kind of halves the drama. I think we're older and we're better, you know.
Seen a few things.
Seen a few things, been there, done that, and just a lot more to draw on.
Wentworth, you've been outspoken about some personal struggles and being semi-retired from acting and coming back. What do you think that you sort of brought from that time, and how you grew through that into what you're doing now and being very successful at it?
It was necessary for me to take a step back after the original series ended. I'd given it all that I had, but I was out of alignment as a man. Alignment for me is what I think, is what I say, is what I do. And that was not true for me at the time. It has been a long road back. One of the things I've enjoyed about observing myself as an actor now is that I can focus on the role I'm getting paid to play, as opposed to all these other parts. And it's made me a stronger performer.
To go back to something from very early in the first season, you do a scene where you dream you're about to be electrocuted in the chair. And I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that scene, because I think it's one of those things that we're never going to be in that situation. We can't imagine ourselves in that situation, but actors sometimes are called upon to do that. And that was a great performance. You were truly terrified in that. And so I just wanted to, if you could talk about that experience and whether that had any long-term effect on you.
Well, you know, I'm not a method actor, but and 3/4 of the time, you know, the stuff that I do is just simmering, and so it's easy to pick. Then you get the scene or the movie that requires to visit some dark places, and I certainly don't want to go there, but you have to in order to get these emotions going. So, I mean, I won't tell you where I went to get to that place, but I went to a very, very dark, imagining dark places, a dark event, and it does, the stain of the character's soul can linger with you unbeknownst to you, and I've discovered that I still haven't washed this guy off me, even though I think I've completely forgotten him.
Guys, we have time for one more question.
Is there anything you want to tease the fans to get them excited about seeing this?
I think they're pretty excited. That's my sense.
Yeah, I don't think we need to tease anything. It's
Which is a luxury. To like
this
sit
thing
in that
is
position.
This show is ready to pop. It's been busting, and now we'll let it.
I'm just sorry they had to wait so long. Like, we wrapped this thing last June.
Yeah.
And it's been a while.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.